Every now and again, you see an animal doing something oddly human-like. I'm not talking about walking upright or smiling for the camera. I am talking about the kind of thing that if we saw a human doing it, we would think, that's a decent person. But have the exact same thing done by an animal, and we figure, that's gotta be instinct. When people do something good, we see it as an expression of their morality. When animals do something good, we see it as the unintended consequence of some sort of deep biological programming that certainly doesn't have anything to do with morality. Right now, as I'm talking to you, you're watching an elephant saving a gazelle from drowning. Here's another clip. A buffalo helps a turtle back on its feet. What we're apparently witnessing here is some form of intelligence, but also something that can only be described as a good heart. Or at least that's what we would call it if we saw a human doing it. But since we're looking at a buffalo, we think to ourselves, well, apparently that's something buffaloes do. But if we're honest though, these types of clips raise a question. Do animals have a sense of morality? Or there's perhaps a more provocative question, is our own human morality rooted in animal instinct? In other words, is morality a part of us in the same way that eating is, or drinking, or running away from danger? It's just something we do instinctively. The first time I asked myself that question was years ago, while watching a BBC documentary about wolves. What really struck me were their almost human-like interactions. I can't show you the whole clip here, it's too long. I'll just summarize it. So, what we're seeing in the documentary is a pack of wolves consisting of the alpha couple and their offspring. The narrator tells us that the alpha couple reproduces, but the younger generations aren't allowed to mate yet. At some point, a lone male wolf without pack or territory appears and starts watching the pack. He's watching and waiting for an opportunity to feed or to mate. One of the younger females, a daughter of the alpha couple, spots him and is interested. She waits until the pack is distracted, and then she sneaks off to go meet with the stranger. And let's just say they meet successfully. Unfortunately for them, mom and dad get wind of this, and they come running as fast as they can. The couple gets broken up, and the alpha male runs off the intruder with his tail between his legs. And off he goes. Now, I have a question. Aren't you struck by just how human-like this behavior is? Can't you just picture a farm in, say, the early 20th century, and a farmer's daughter who's young and looking for a romantic interest? And the farmer's couple, of course, keep a close eye on her. But then one day, she sneaks away to meet up with a young and mysterious newcomer. Sex ensues, and the parents are furious. Dad grabs his shotgun and runs off the intruder. Mom slaps the daughter and laments, "I thought I had raised you better than this." Now, the thing is, if this were to happen in a human society, the whole situation would receive that extra layer of complexity that is so typical for human beings. For example, perhaps a farmer would say, "You ought to behave like a good Christian girl. We raised you the Christian way." There would be outrage. There would be talk of honor and family honor and a girl's reputation. Perhaps a few words would be said about the whole affair by the pastor in the local church. The town would gossip about the young man's social standing and his limited prospects in life, and that is not the kind of man you'd want to marry. And if she's pregnant, what then? Well, then they would have to marry. It would all feel very human, with very human concepts and concerns. But wouldn't it be, at its very core, just animal instinct? And if it is, isn't perhaps all morality, at its core, animal instinct? Perhaps morality doesn't come from God or philosophy or civilization or even humanity. Perhaps it doesn't come from above, but from way down below, from the depths of our animal nature. To many people, this would be disconcerting. Isn't morality the highest expression of our humanity? Well, perhaps not. Perhaps it just seems that way because we take our lowly moral instincts and package them in a way that is uniquely human. Packaging such as religion, philosophy, social codes. And we write it all down, which is another thing animals don't do. And because animals don't package their morality, but just experience it directly as instincts, as animals do, we don't recognize it as morality. But that's like saying animals don't eat because they don't cook their food. We could take our entire food culture and use that as the definition of eating, and then conclude that animals don't eat. Perhaps we're looking at the packaging of our morality and mistaking it for the thing itself. And if you say, okay, fine, animals do have something that resembles morality, but in the end, it's just instinct. To that I say, yes, it is. But that's my point. Maybe it's instinct for us humans also. Here's one last clip to sign off with. It shows an experiment done in 1999 at Emory University in the US. 2 capuchin monkeys are kept in neighboring cages. They are trained to hand over small pebbles in exchange for a reward, in this case, pieces of cucumber. When the researchers start giving one monkey a better reward, grapes, while continuing to give the other monkey the inferior reward, cucumbers, that monkey gets very upset. Look at him. If this was a person, you could easily imagine him shouting something about fairness and about how it's just not right. Who's to say that on a fundamental level, this monkey's outrage on the one hand, and then on the other hand, people's views on fairness, who's to say those don't share a common basis, which is to say, a common instinct? I mean, it would explain why people get so deeply upset when debating moral issues. If moral issues would be purely a matter of reason, would they have the capacity to trigger such strong reactions? Instincts certainly do have that capacity. It's just a thought. See you next time.